So we have a guest speaker today, the beautiful one and only Karen Morgan. So Karen, where are you, my dear?
Good morning, folks.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good to see you all.
They can only hear you, Karen. They can only hear you. So what I'm going to do, Karen, let me just... Oh, where are you again? What I'm going to do, I'm going to pin your video so everyone can just see you. They don't want to see me. And you can start, there we go. You can start talking, giving us some top tips. So basically, Karen, I wanted you to tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a senior group leader in a company based in Wales. I've learned a bit of Welsh. I know how to say hello in Welsh. It's, yeah. Yeah. And how do you say hello in Welsh?
Well, bore da would be this morning. Good
Correct.
morning. Bore da.
Bore da. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Karen, and some top tips, ideas, and over to you.
Thanks, Rob. Well, good morning, folks. It's really lovely. Do you know, I've already been on a networking session this morning with the local business group that I joined. And immediately, just looking at you, there are so many more happy, smiley faces. So maybe that's just the people who join UW, or maybe it's just the state of our businesses at the moment, but it's really nice to see so many smiley faces. So that's lovely. And familiar faces as well. And many of you already know my story, so I certainly don't want to bore you. But what's interesting is that I joined back in 2003, and things were going pretty well, I think, at that moment in time. You know, so I had a bit of a fast movement. I had 3 children under the age of 5, and had chosen to become a stay-at-home mum. And so this was just something I wanted to do as a bit of a challenge and to keep some brain cells working. And I realized that there were other parents in the playground who, you know, we always used to say that Pampers were half price in Tesco, or wine was half price in Asda, and we'd all bomb off down there. And I thought, well, maybe I can just recommend, because I'm certainly not a salesperson, you know. I thought, if I can just recommend, we'll see what happens. And what's interesting is, I think in that early stage, the business worked quite well. And then I'm just trying to think, it slowed down again, I think, because of the way things were. But then in 2008, again, when, you know, we had a bit of a recession, if you remember, 2008, my business suddenly sped up again. And that's when I hit senior group leader. And I'm sure perhaps Rob might agree. I don't know. I know Rob's been busy doing lots of things, and Susie here. But actually then over the last couple of years, things have been a lot more stagnant again. And we listened to Andrew Lindsay on a leadership call. Some of you will have been on that yesterday. And you'll have heard, actually, suddenly, you know that our recruiting numbers are higher this week than they were the week or 2 leading up to Express Day. And when you think that's when everybody was going for promotions, most people were going for recognition, and, you know, they were really eyeballs out. This is way before we really even recognized how serious Corona was going to be. And so to know that our partner recruiting levels are higher this week, I mean, that really kind of gives a brilliant indication that actually, again, I think as the economy is slowing down, we have a brilliant opportunity to really boom our business. And I don't mean that boom our business for us to personally benefit. I think on this occasion, it's slightly different. I think we've got a real opportunity to throw that lifeline out, as we've been talking about. You know, this isn't trying to feather our own nests almost at this stage. It's just about seeing how many people we can help. And I don't know about you guys, but I was really inspired to hear that so many people are looking to join the business and want that help at the moment.
I think it's the right timing now, isn't it, Karen? It's you know, there are people out there, and I was speaking to someone yesterday, and she's a sales rep. She earns 70-80 grand a year, but she can't earn that money anymore. And she said to me, you know, this, she wouldn't have even looked at this before, but now it's like, let's have a look.
Absolutely, yeah. People of all, you know, backgrounds, and you know, if you've been talking to other business owners, you'll have seen yourself. You know, some of these strongest, most robust businesses are suddenly really struggling for reasons that we wouldn't have been able to see at Christmas time. You know, but the other thing that Andrew shared with us was the fact that the customer numbers are also increasing at the moment. And whilst, you know, they were really good before Express Day, They did take a bit of a dive, obviously, and I think everybody was trying to find let the dust settle. But now they are significantly back on the rise again. And I don't know, it just made me think, at the moment we're getting a lot of good news stories out there. And I think it makes us sometimes think, oh goodness, it's okay for everybody else, but I'm obviously failing here. I'm not good enough. I can't do this business. Clearly I'm not having this level of success, or even I'm frightened of doing the virtual stuff, And I would say, my team, and it's great to see some of them on the call here today. Morning, guys. And they'll be sick probably of hearing this analogy, but I use the motorway analogy, and I don't know if have you all heard the motorway analogy? No? Okay, so I think this business is pretty much like we are driving our car down the motorway, and sometimes it absolutely suits us to be going on the inside lane, going at as long as we're moving forward, we can be going at the 40 miles an hour, okay? And then in the middle lane, there'll be somebody who will go past you at a faster rate. And that's okay, because at that moment in time, that suits them to be going to be overtaking. And then of course, in the far right, we've got the people who are absolutely going down, breaking all the speed records and going, down in the outside lane. And very rarely, I think, when we're actually driving, do we think, oh, I wish I was in that car going at that speed, or I wish I was in that outside lane at the moment. We actually go in the lane that's suitable for us. But that doesn't mean to say that if we're in the inside lane for a while, we can't then, when the timing is right, go into the middle lane or even in the outside lane. I think the key thing is that if we do take turning off the slip road and go and have a coffee and a quick break, that we don't stay in the cafe or in the restroom. We don't stay in the hotel there, but we get quickly back onto that slip road and we just keep going at a pace that is right for us without having to compete with anybody else. And I don't know if anybody relates to any of that, but I think, a lot of people at the moment are in the fast lane, but I think also there are a lot of people at the moment who are sitting in the cafe thinking, oh heck, all this IT stuff, or maybe I'll just have another coffee and I'll sit here for another hour. And hopefully then maybe if there are any traffic jams, they might have all gone by the time I get back on the motorway. My message...
I was going to say, don't you think when lockdown happened, it got a bit foggy on the motorway and everyone was like, slowed down?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Rob. I think there were big signs saying slow, 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 or there may be an accident ahead,
Yeah.
And actually, it's really easy just to stay and have another coffee in the service station. But I think if we can just, and whether it's because we decide to go in pairs or we buddy up, whatever it is, we can get back on that motorway and just go at a speed, whatever speed, it doesn't matter. But it's just trying that technology out. And I know that everybody who has tried it has said, oh my goodness, actually, this is a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. In fact, actually, I haven't wasted all of that time traveling and all the rest of it. I could do a little bit more in my nooks and crannies of every day. So I think there's a bit of a mindset there. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like you're coasting along the motorway. You're a senior group leader. Your team's doing really well. You're part of Derek Thomas's.
Some of them, not everybody. I think there's always a full spectrum, and I think we always talk about the ones who are really speeding. But yeah.
Well, most of my team are in the lay-by having a picnic, I think. So, or they've been caught by the old bill for speeding. But Karen, we've spoken many times, and you're not part of my team, but we've worked closely. And have there been times when you've got a bit flat, got a bit low, and that might not be UW stuff? I know your dad passed away a few years ago now, and he's very close to our hearts down here in Bournemouth, and there are times, dark times or tough times. How do you keep yourself going when there are tough times like a lockdown and you can't see family and friends and things like that?
Well, there are so many things to unpick, even in what you've just said there, Rob. So the first one is, sorry, to my phone off, is the value of cross networking, and cross pollinating. So I was very fortunate when I became a trainer that I trained a lot with Rob. And one of the key questions that he always asked me, and I knew he was going to ask me it, and I'm sure as team members, he'll probably ask you the same thing. What are you feeding your brain today, girl? And he always used to say that. And I always knew I had to have a couple of books up my sleeve or audios. So, and not only did I just be able to say what they were, I actually, because he would say, so what was the best bit in that book for you? So he held me accountable. So I couldn't just name a book. I had to actually then say, well, I thought that, and there was always that, well, how will you apply that to your business? How are you using that information? You know, so that was such a gem, Rob, and I'm always grateful for that, because I think that's something we could all do with our team or cross team. You know, what are you feeding your brain at the moment? And I think, yeah, it is all about mindset. It really, truly is. With life generically, or this business, and I put a post yesterday because I suddenly thought our business is a bit like a stream. And in the stream, there are always going to be boulders. And each of us are individual poo sticks going down the river. And sometimes we are in the flow, but then will always be times where we get stuck behind a boulder, you know, but we've just got to find that wriggle room until we can work our way free and get back in the flow. But I think what's happened with Corona is a bloody great boulder has suddenly plonked itself in the middle of our river, and we've all had a bit of a splash. But the good thing is, actually, for a lot of people who have been stuck behind a big boulder for several years, I'm suddenly seeing them. They found that splash has given them enough wriggle room to actually now break free. And yeah, there are some people who are temporarily stuck behind that boulder, but I can see signs that as long as they're wriggling to get free, they will too get back in their flow. And then I just suddenly thought, you know, sometimes when we put a big boulder in the middle of a river, the water goes faster on either side of it. And I just think, again, we are in a wonderful opportunity at the moment to, if we can get our brain or mindset right, that actually we can use that flow. So going back to your question then, Rob, I think it is all about mindset, and it's recognizing that. I think Paul Gowndry's doing some wonderful free meditation stuff on a Tuesday morning, Wednesday evening. You can find details of that on the Utility Warehouse Partner Facebook group. It's only 30 minutes, but wow, and yeah, he's been doing it for over 20 years for free, and he's very
also, Karen, you mentioned to me and Emily once about is it a podcast you listen to?
Yes, so I was just about to mention that. So BBC Sounds, don't know if you come across that, but BBC Sounds is a free app. It's a BBC radio, you know, or I think it's TV, but BBC Sounds, and they do a free app. And one of the programs on there is Don't Tell Me the Score. And they have lots of famous people. So Gary Lineker, for example, you know, a lot of them are sports people, but they are interviewed about their biggest failures. And again, it's this whole concept about what is failure, because actually, you know, failure is not failing as we know it. Failing is just that step towards success, you know, and once we can reframe that. But you hear all these famous people, and as a result of letdowns or disappointments, what that has been the springboard for them to go on and do. So that's a great one. Audible as well. I'm a great, and I must admit, when I had young children, the idea of sitting down and reading a book was just not even, you know, and I imagine for the parents who are homeschooling at the moment, the idea of sitting down with a book might be a luxury beyond comprehension at the moment. But I think Audible, you know, and I think they give free membership for a couple of months. And if you tell them you're leaving, I think they negotiate it down for a few more months as a top tip there. But I think just listening to stuff, you know, whatever you're doing, that was how I actually got back into reading books, through listening to CDs and audios.
So for those on the call today that have been struck down with the COVID-19 syndrome of like, what is going on, rabbit in the headlights of Karen Morgan's car, you know, they're kind of frozen on the spot thinking, you know, I'm finding it hard, I'm finding it tough. You're saying, pick up a book, listen to some audio, because it is about getting that mindset right. Because I always remember when I was a trainer, people used to come up to me and go, how are you recruiting so many? How are you getting so many customers? And I used to look at and you can see it in their face. I used to look at them and go, well, firstly, look at your face. It's not smiling. You know, it looks stressed and worn out and exhausted. And then I used to say, pick up a book, read something. And I always remember, you know, whenever I'm on holiday and I read a book, I'm on holiday excited about getting back. I should be excited about being on the holiday, not about getting back. And that's the power of these books or the mindset of things. It's you've got the right mindset, you'll recruit, because people feel that energy from you, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, particularly now, perhaps more than ever, different people need different things. And so the idea of just listening to a book or on your own might be the best thing in the world. For others, that might feel quite isolating. And so, you know, if you're the type of person who feels isolated by that, then why not get a small group together and have a little bit of a book club and say, look, we're all going to read or listen. And I must admit, I cheat sometimes. I get a cheap version on Amazon for £2. I get a second-hand book, but I also buy it on Audible. And so sometimes when I can, I listen to it. And then when I just want to do a bit of reading of it, I'll mix and match the listening and the reading, and that helps me get through a book a lot faster. But then I have 2 different book circles. One's a business book circle, one's a fiction book circle. And again, you know, there's no reason why a couple of you just can't, you know, if in or outside of the business, just chat about a book. And, you know, just sometimes that togetherness helps, I think, a bit more as well. But going back to mindset, when you were just talking then, Rob, it reminded me of something that Chris Williams used to say when he was really going for promotion. And he used to lie in bed and say, today I am going to get 5 new partners, because he needed a promotion. I'm going to get 5 new partners. And every night he used to go back to bed really deflated because he hadn't got anybody. And this continued for some time. And then one day he suddenly woke up and he said, you know, I'm not going to get anybody today. I'm just going to see how many people I can help. I'm going to put my promotion and my needs just on the back shelf. I'm just going to see who can I serve today. And he said, you would not believe how quickly those 5 new partners came in. He said, so again, it's just that, what's the internal dialogue? What are we saying? And are we sounding and feeling desperate, or are we genuinely just wanting to serve and help people? Because I think that is easily abundant and obvious to people that listen.
That's a great expression. It's serving, because that's what it is. It's helping people. And you know, I always hear Lisa Ware saying, oh, I'm so grateful to you, Rob. I'm like, well, thank you. I mean, but she had to take the steps to join. She had to take the steps to build the business. But the reality was, someone's introduced you to this business, and so Steve Critchley introduced me to this business. And in a kind of a smug way now, I'm sat here thinking, I don't have any money worries. You know, the money's coming in every single month and it's a great income. But I also think about those people out there that are on universal credit or are really struggling. And, you know, no matter how many times I can say to them, look, you could join this and earn an extra 500 or £1,000. Some of them do not have the inclination to do this. They're just like, nope, I'm happy as I am. But others are like, yep, maybe now's my time. Let's have a look at it.
Yeah.
So it is about sharing it with everyone, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely is. And I think the other thing that's becoming apparent to me listening to Team, and we've got Natalie Leanne on the call today, and I hope she won't mind me saying, she joined on New Year's Eve, but has had an incredible April. And I think, you know, hearing the way Natalie has talked to her friends and extended just a very genuine request for recommendations is very different to somebody else's button of saying, could you do me a favor? And I think we've all got different ways of building a business, and we can listen to other people's ways, but then I think if we cherry pick to make it our own, you know, and just again, it's not feeling, when somebody says, so when Leanne said, you know, not that she's shouting about it, she's been very humble about it, but 18 customers last month, most of them Daffy Gold, you know, actually we don't know, she's in that sentence, we're not actually expressing how many no's that people get as well. And so I think there are a lot of team members who think that people are just going out and getting 18 yeses or 10 yeses or even 6 yeses. But we're not saying, oh yes, I got 6 yeses but 20 no's. You know, we don't tend to add that bit, but I think we've got to understand that that is part of that's part and parcel of it, you know.
Would you say now, Karen, there's a lot more work involved than before?
You mean pre-corona or post, or do you mean as opposed to the last decade or last century when we were?
As opposed to, I just find in my team and for me personally, I love doing the winning minis. I love the face-to-face. I could build that rapport, but with the phone, it's not a comfortable thing for me. So I'm finding I'm having to make a lot more phone calls, like Natalie, you know, a lot more phone calls to get one deal. You know, are you finding that for yourself as well?
Absolutely, yes. And I'll be honest with you folks, I spent all of last week, I felt on the phone and I got absolutely nowhere. But I am inspired by hearing that other people are getting stuff. So I just know at the moment, my little poo stick is possibly behind a boulder. But I also know that as long as I keep going, and again, already this week, I've had 4 or 5 requests for information. Now, I could have actually decided last week that I was going to give this, I was just going to put tools down until all of this blew over. But actually, I know that it's in those moments when you know that your poo stick is up against the boulder and that water is hitting you and you're not going anywhere, that is truly the time where you've just got to keep wriggling. It's so easy just to give up. But if that is your defining moment, actually, not once you get back in the flow, it's easy then. Your defining moment and my defining moment, I know, is when I'm up against it, I'm not getting any results, and I've just got to keep digging a bit deeper, and then suddenly the poo stick goes floating.
That's a great analogy. It really is, because there are so many people that they will try something, especially new people. They'll make 1 or 2 phone calls. Some of their friends might say no, and then in their heads, they go, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And we know it works.
Absolutely.
But it's that, they are stuck, and you need to get through that. You need to stay on the phone. You need to keep phoning people.
Yeah.
Obviously, talk to others in the team, get some top tips and ideas. But keep going.
Yeah. I think that's the crucial thing, Robert, is talking to others, and everybody will need a different level of that. So it's being honest with ourselves. How much talking to others is really helping us, or how much of it is just deviating and not getting on with what we need to do. So I think we've got to be honest with ourselves. I forgot what I was going to say then. Sorry.
That's okay. But it is very easy to just keep talking a good game. You've got to take the action as well, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's what, when you see other people that are doing well, it's genuinely not to feel bombed out by that. It is actually just to feel the inspiration. So I know these guys, a lot of them on the call this morning, they've inspired me. So when I was having no results for the last week or 2, it's these guys that have inspired me rather than bombed me out. And I think that's what we've got to, it comes back to mindset again, doesn't it?
Karen, before we finish the Zoom call, a top tip. You've given some top tips anyhow, predominantly about mindset and what you feed in the mind, and anything else to close the meeting?
Have one list, guys. It sounds so simple and so easy, but I think, I've always struggled. I've got lists here, lists there, lists in a book. Then I start to try and do it digitally, and that's only doesn't really work for me because I'm not digital. And I think if I could start again, I would have one list. And I wish I kept in contact with my customers. Even, so what I'm trying to do now, although it's never going to work because they've moved and I've had so many homeowners, but have a broadcast list maybe for all of your customers, and just try and keep that list up to date so that you can keep touching base with your customers. And again, with all the things that we're offering now, just checking in that their fibre optic is okay. Are they on fibre optic? Because they probably need it at the moment, possibly. Do they know about the £50 referrals? Because I'm telling my customers, we're trying to get your bill down to 0. So I've got customers who are trying to get their bill down to 0. So I would say that is a real golden pot, your customer data list. And I work so much harder at making sure that was up to date these days, and using it this week and going forward. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Karen, thank you for giving up your time today. Really enjoyed that. Absolutely incredible top tips there. And as we close, I'm going to unmute everyone so they can give you a big round of applause and have a safe journey. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great day.
Guys, lovely to see you all. Really lovely to see your faces. Stay safe. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you.